Hello and welcome to the final day of racing at the Giro Rosa 2019. We have absolutely loved bringing you daily highlights this year at Vox Women, and a huge thank you once again to our partner Trek for quite simply making that possible. Before we head into the big finale today, let's take a look back at yesterday's stunning summit finish. Gemona was the starting point for stage 9 and another mountaintop finish for an already tired peloton. There seemed to be a great atmosphere at the start, even with a hard climb to come at the end of the stage. As expected, all the big GC riders were together at the bottom of the climb, but when the pink jersey attacked, only the world champion could go with her. Annemiek van Vleuten attacked again and got what looks like a winning gap on her only rival. But Anna van der Breggen found her rhythm and slowly but surely reeled her in. With only 500 metres to go, the Boels Dolmans rider caught her foe and just kept going to claim the stage win at Malga Montasio. The Maglia Rosa was second, with Ashley Moolman-Pasio of CCC Live just taking third from Amanda Spratt. A great podium for the world champion, with Annemiek van Vleuten still in pink. It looks like the podium positions have now been decided, but anything can happen on the final stage.
We came here to win the Giro, and that didn't work. That was quite clear already. Pretty early. Annemiek was really strong this week. So she was good, and then the Queen stage is what left. I felt better and better this Giro also. So the only thing you can do is try to win a stage in the end. We are really happy that it was today possible.
And also tried to get my teammates on the podium. That's why I attacked so early with 11k to go, to make it hard, so she could drop Kasia and Lucinda Brandt. So I'm happy that we achieved that, but maybe that was a bit then hard also to take also the victory on this beautiful climb. But beautiful hard climb. But I think it was a great fight for the stage win, and I gave everything I had. I died completely. So still in pink.
And alongside me once again for today, stage 10, of course, the final stage of this year's Giro, is Hayley Simmons. Now let's take a look back and reflect once again on that beautiful victory for Anna van der Breggen.
Yeah, it was really quite something, you know, after she maybe hadn't had the best race so far, and to see her and Annemiek kind of go head to head on that final climb was pretty exciting. And I wondered who was going to attack first and quite what would happen at the end, but maybe slightly reminiscent of La Course last year, but it's just always great to see those two riders go up against each other.
And good to hear from Annemiek after as well. Of course, she retains the Maglia Rosa. She knew that was pretty much going to be the case coming in yesterday, but setting it up for Amanda Spratt as well.
Yeah, she said that obviously she went quite early with 11k to go, and really it sounded like her goal for that final climb was to kind of help Amanda Spratt put as much time into Lucinda and Kasia as possible, so that she could put herself on the overall general classification podium, which obviously they were successful in doing, and really they should hold their first and third place on GC in today's stage, I would imagine. Obviously going so early, it made it quite hard for her to then get the stage win herself, but she still finished second after a really, really impressive performance on that final climb.
It was, and you could just see how tough it was, and her zigzagging on that gradient, that was by no means easy, and we always love seeing that battle with those two riders. But one rider you mentioned there, Lucinda Brand of Sunweb, unfortunately we saw those images, didn't we, after we came off air yesterday, of her walking up that final climb.
Yeah, we still don't know what happened exactly. My guess is she probably had a mechanical of some sort, given that she was kind of looked to be walking/running up the climb with her bike. There were really tough images to see, actually, because you could see how gutted she was in her facial expressions, and you know, it's one thing that makes cycling just so tough. Anything can happen on a climb like that. Your team cars aren't following you. Yes, you've got the support motorbikes coming up, but quite often they'll just have spare wheels in case of punctures. So if she'd had a more serious mechanical, then you know there's not necessarily anything that can be done. We don't know how much time she might have, you know, managed to kind of hold Amanda Spratt to if she hadn't had the mechanical problem. So we don't know what might have been, but yeah, it's so tough for her.
Yeah, and I said walking there. Of course, she was running up that climb and mentioned, I think, on her social media about the cyclocross skills coming into play there. But something we never want to see. But for their team, Juliette Lebeau still wears the white leaders jersey. Another team having a good week is your old team, WNT Rosa, who lead the team classification. So with that, let's have a word from them now.
Oh, it means a lot. I'm really excited. When we knew we were leading the team classification only for 2 seconds, we were so excited yesterday. It will be hard fighting, but for us it means a lot to be on the podium, so we will fight till the last meter. Then, okay, if we will win, it will be great. If we will not win, we know we will fight till the last moment and meter.
Well, I honestly think that we're gonna do a bunch sprint today because CCC has a wonderful Marianne, so I think so. But I'm still hoping in a breakaway, honestly, because then make a bit more space for everyone. And just in case we come down to the bunch sprint, we're gonna play our card with our American sprinter.
For me, being on the podium of Giro Rosa, you know, it's my home race, so I'm really excited for this. And sometimes domestic roller can be hard because you are never in the glory, you know, the place and moment, but this means a lot.
Brilliant to hear from some of the riders, as always, at the start of the stage. And WNT, they'll be happy with where they are, of course, in that team classification. And I've been really interested to see Erica Magnaldi really come to the fore this week as well.
Yeah, it's great to see how strong she's been this week. Obviously, it's a home race for her. And yeah, this has actually almost been a bit of a breakout race for her. I think it's been kind of the strongest she's been all season. Ana Santesteban as well has had some brilliant performances, and the two of them have actually had quite a few top tens between them. So it's been really great to see maybe some slightly younger riders kind of really performing with the big names that we know.
I'm really looking forward to today. It's, well, unbelievably, the final stage already. It's really flown past, perhaps not for the riders with very, very tired legs. Yeah. But what do you make of today, and are we going to see that big sprint that we're expecting?
On paper, it looks like a much more straightforward stage. It looks like it could well be a sprint finish, but it's the final stage of the Giro Rosa. There are lots of riders, lots of teams who maybe haven't had the individual results that they've wanted this week, who haven't yet been on the podium or haven't been in the breakaway. So anything can happen today, I think.
Well, with that, let's take a look now at everything that happened out on the road for stage 10. And we are in to the final stage here at the 30th edition of the Giro Rosa Ecrea. 120 kilometres lies ahead, and here is our general classification. Annemiek van Vleuten, followed by Anna van der Breggen, and in third it's now Amanda Spratt, followed by Ashley Momonpasio in fourth. And you can see those time gaps there as we come in, and of course hopefully a plain sailing day for Van Vleuten ahead as she wears the Maglia Rosa, as she has done since that big Queen stage on stage 5, where she secured that big gap to the rest of the peloton. We start today's stage in San Vito Tagliamento, and the big finale is in Udine. Once again, alongside me in commentary is Hayley Simmons of BTC City Ljubljana. Hello.
Hi.
Beautiful scenes yet again ahead of this
stage.
It's
like a really nice day in Italy today, doesn't it?
So we're having a little look back here at how the first of the 10 stages kicked off with the team time trial. Next, it was Marianne Vos, of course, after Canyon Schramm took that win on day one. She took a stunning sprint. Lucy Kennedy came up to the line the day after that. And as you can see, if anyone has missed that action, Marianne Vos pipping her on the line. But that was heartbreaking to see for Kennedy. It was a 3-rider breakaway. that took it to that photo finish on the following stage. Annemiek van Vleuten on stage 5. This is the point where she was in that World Tour leader's jersey, and she then took the Maglia Rosa. In the individual time trial, she cemented that lead in the pink skin suit. That was a point that she caught Kasia Niewiadoma, just showing the preparation she put into this race. Once again, it was Voss. And this was Lizzie Banks crossing the line, the rider from Great Britain for Team Bigler. A very emotional victory for her, pouncing from a 10-rider breakaway. Anna van der Breggen took yesterday's stage on a beautiful summit finish, treating us to a very close and hard-fought battle with Annemiek van Vleuten, something we're very familiar with in the Women's World Tour peloton. Two incredible rivals. Very special day today in Italy as we embark on stage 10 and the conclusion of what has been an absolutely fantastic edition of the Giro Rosa, and a very, very difficult course this week. Some very tired legs, I imagine, in there. We feel like the 10 days has flown past, but I'm sure it's a little bit different being in that peloton, and it's Movistar now on the stage for sign-on. Brilliant spirits this morning, and a day ahead for Mitchelton Scott. Hopefully we'll get a glimpse of that in a moment, but they've all got the pink bar tape on today.
Yeah, they've all got pink bar tape, and Annemiek van Vleuten has some pink decals on her Scott as well, and pink flashes on her bottle cages, so she's really celebrating the final day of this year's Giro.
And it'll be lovely for her to come into this final day. She had a lot of pressure on her shoulders as defending champion. A lot of pressure if that came off at stage 5, but of course there was a long way still to go.
Yeah, it's been a really hard Giro. There have been a lot of mountains, a lot of uphill finishes. Even days that look simple on paper haven't been. I think it's been tough all week, and I think a lot of the riders are going to be pretty excited about today being the last day and to get through this race.
Marianne Voss signing on. And Ashley Molman-Passio, who had a stunning day in the saddle yesterday, and lovely to hear her just saying how much it meant to fight very, very hard on that summit finish. Valkar Silence, we didn't get to see their dance yesterday, Hayley, but here it is.
I know, like I said, everybody's celebrating the final day with some beautiful blue skies above them.
WNT Motor leading that team competition, having a great week.
Yeah, they'll be hoping to tie up the team victory today.
Bowles Dolmans, and that familiar sight of Anna van der Breggen in the World Championship bands there, just signing on after a brilliant day for her and that stage victory, which we enjoyed so much. What an exciting finale that was.
I know, and she'll be pretty comfortable in her second position today, but yeah, it was a brilliant finish yesterday.
Elisa Longo Borghini, the GC leader for Trek Segafredo, but so many riders in this team, Ruth Winter there, who have just been very, very key in the biggest moves this week.
Yeah, Taylor Wiles has also really animated the race this week. So their riding is always really aggressive.
And in the pink colours of the race lead, Annemiek van Vleuten signs on, the number 1 on her back, because she won this race overall last year and came in with a huge intent to do the same. Her teammate Amanda Spratt there is wearing green because she takes on the Queen of the Mountain jersey, because van Vleuten, quite frankly, has so many leaders' jerseys. They go to the second place rider in that classification.
Yeah, it's hard to wear all 3 jerseys, but somebody's got to look after them.
And Canyon Schramm, who we got a sight of back on day 1, the opening stage, taking that team time trial in such brilliant style. Hannah Barnes there next to Kasia Niewiadoma. And here it is, stage 10. And a day that looks to potentially offer us a bunch gallop to the line, 120k later.
Yeah, with one intermediate sprint and one climb along the way, though a climb that's definitely not of the same level as most of the climbs that we've seen this week. I think the riders won't be so worried about that. And on paper, it looks like a finish for Voss, but lots of riders have nothing to lose today.
Yeah. As you say, it will be all in for that stage win for people that have very much got their eye on that with the last stage ahead. Lovely sights at the start line this morning, and of course our jersey wearers who lead those classifications will line up at the front of the peloton.
It's great to see some of the things that happen at the start of stages. I've been treated to local dances and all sorts in various races.
And a big cheer, and the flag drops, and stage 10, the final stage of the 2019 edition of the Giro Rosa Recrea, is now underway. To the left of the screen, it's Amanda Spratt of Mitchelton Scott. She is in green today, so she'll be very easily spotted in that pack. Juliette Lebeau wears the white jersey, leading the young rider classification, and slotting in just next to her, of course, is our Maglia Rosa wearer, Annemiek van Vleuten. And Elisa Longo-Borghini once again wears the blue jersey, as she is the best placed Italian rider in her home race. And in those World Championship bands, it's Anna van der Breggen, who took a very beautiful stage finish yesterday on stage 9. Just seeing the peloton rolling out here. And it's an interesting one today, isn't it, Hayley? Because it's flat by the standards of this year's Giro d'Italia, Giro Rosa. But in terms of when you've got a big time gap, when you're leading the classification, I guess it's a case of just staying safe on the road today.
I mean, obviously the teams will be keeping an eye on things. You know, we can see that there's a break that is away, but you know, Mitchelton Scott will be aware of where these two riders lie on GC, exactly how much time they are behind their leader. They'll know what they need to do, and they won't let anything go that's going to be dangerous at all. But yeah, it's always a bit concerning. You just want to stay safe, stay out of trouble, and especially in a race like this where you do get sections of narrow roads, cobbles, things like that. You just want to stay safe.
So we joined the action there with our 2-rider breakaway up the road, which was Remy Casper of Ali Cipollini, someone that has put in some huge attacks already over the last 10 days. And Anna Plichter has joined her from Trek Segafredo. And it is the colours of CCC Live here, followed by Marianne Vos, their teammate, who is wearing that points jersey today. So we can spot her in that. But they are on the front of the pack here. And to the left, you can see Juliette Lebeau, Anna van der Breggen, and Lucinda Brand there is tucked in. And big disappointment to see how yesterday's stage finished for her.
Oh, it's so hard, especially, as a rider, I just can feel the pain of someone who was, really well placed on GC and then suffered some kind of, presumably a mechanical problem, and just it's heartbreaking to see images like that of her having to cross the line on foot, having lost that GC podium position.
And we always say it, bit of a cliche sometimes, but anything can happen on the road, and it just proves that it can, and it can be so far out of your control. And within the last couple of stages, it's a very disappointing, uncontrollable for a rider.
Yeah, it so often is out of your control. There could be a crash in front of you that you can't avoid, something in the road that you don't see, or you can have a mechanical problem. And these days where pretty much all the riders, I guess, will be on electronic shifting, and something can just fail for absolutely no reason, and there's nothing you can do about it.
So, the state of play on the road is we've got our 2-rider breakaway, Remy Casper of Ali Cipollini, Anna Plichter of Trek Segafredo. We'll confirm that time gap for you when we get a little glimpse of just how far up the road they are. But it is CCC Live driving on the front of this group.
Yeah, they'll know that on paper today looks like a good finish for Voss, and so, I guess they'll probably be controlling this, not letting it get too far, because they know that there's a chance of another stage victory for their team today.
And what do you know? What can you tell us about the run into the finish? Because again, we've kind of looked at that profile, looked at that road book, but we've tried to see what it looks like in reality a little bit.
Yeah, so it looks like it's a kick up to the finish. I'm not sure exactly how steep it is, but yeah, it looks like a little bit of a kick up on cobbles, and I've heard as well that it's quite a narrow approach, so it's quite a technical finish, which again is something that Vos is just so good at. You see, you know, if there are corners in the run up to stage finishes, just what kind of gap she can put into the other riders, either in a break or all the rest of the bunch, because she's just such a good bike handler.
She is a pleasure to watch in that element, not only just the raw power, but her technical nous, just coming from the background as a very young rider of cyclocross and everything in between. I absolutely love watching her on all these different terrains, all these different scenarios.
You know what? It's even impressive sometimes to watch her riding around a car park at the start of races. She's just incredible to watch on a bike. So
21.4 kilometres to go on this final stage here at the Giro Rosa Crea. We started the day in San Vito Tagliamento. The finale will happen in Udine. And as Hayley has told us, yes, another run into the finish that isn't straightforward, a bit of a drag up. Probably quite a rough surface of the road. We've seen a lot of cobbles coming in this week to those stage finales, and we get a glimpse of that gap, which is at 1 minute 11 now, with our riders Romy Kasper and Alla Plichter up the road.
Yeah, you can see that the whole of CCC are on the front there. You know, they really are controlling it. They won't want it to get too far out. You know, you've got 20 odd K to go, just over a minute's gap, so it's well controlled at the moment. So they'll just be keeping an eye on the time gaps of those two riders, just, you know, making sure that it doesn't get too far out, so that they know that Vos is still in with striking distance for the stage finish.
Yeah, and as you say there, a stage finish that could well suit Marianne Vos. We've seen what she can do earlier this week. She's been absolutely dominant in those sprints, so CCC Live very much keeping an eye on that time gap. But for anyone tuning in for the first time and following the pro peloton and perhaps doesn't know what we mean when we say that safe distance almost for a break, as a rider, what are you thinking when you get into those latter kilometres? How far can you let things go safely?
Generally, the kind of accepted distance is when you hit the last 10K, the break really needs to have about a minute, and then it's, you know, it's possible that it will stay out. Obviously, it depends on the size of the break and the exact composition of the break as well, and how well it's working together. Because if a break is too big, then it might not work so well together, and the riders will just watch each other, and the gap can come down very, very quickly. But generally, you know, a break will need about a minute in the last 10K, and we just saw that it's only just got over a minute now, with still, you know, 20 odd K to go, and CCC are controlling it. They're not letting it get out too far.
Yeah, we can just see in this group, everyone we expect to be working and expect to be tucked up there, and we always see the bright colours of the jerseys of the classification leaders, because they're always just moving themselves back up and making sure they're in that safety zone.
Yeah, you don't really want to get too far back, because the further you are back in the group, the more likely it is that firstly you could miss something that happens at the front, but also, you know, you've got 100 odd riders in front of you, and if any one of them loses concentration, clips the wheel of a rider in front, hits something in the road, causes a crash, the further back you are, the more likely it is to affect you, either by sending you down, or just, you know, you having to stop, unclip, avoid it, and then potentially waste energy, you know, trying to make it back to the rest of the bunch. Saying that, we did see a crash at the front in the women's tour, so obviously anything can happen, but generally the front is the safer place to be.
So Romy Kasper up here, for Ali Cipollini. This isn't the first time we've seen her out front over the last 10 days, and as a team they've just been such a joy to watch. And Soraya Paladin, her teammate, having a really stunning week in the saddle.
Yeah, they've been racing really well, really aggressively. They've had some really good results this week, and Ali Cipollini are one of the teams that has actually publicly said that they would like to be one of the kind of World Tour teams for next year when the kind of new rules come in for Women's World Tour. And it's great to see them animating the race like this with their intention to step up to be one of the top 5 World Tour teams next year.
You can really start to see the organisation and the pace in this peloton as that time gap is coming down now with 17.2 kilometres to go.
Yeah, so I think we still have that GPM to come as well. So the time gap's kind of coming down in the run up to that GPM. These two riders, I think, will keep working together for the time being. Keep trying to stay out, but yeah, it looks like it's going to come back, you know, well before we hit the last 10k.
So the state of play as we've come in today to the final stage, stage 10, it is Annemiek van Vleuten of Mitchelton Scott that's now got 3 minutes 50 on Anna van der Breggen. Amanda Spratt, who's wearing that green jersey, she sits in 3rd. Ashley Montmorenpassio moved up to 4th. She's at 8:05. And then it's Katie Hall that follows her. And Kasia Niewiadoma currently in 6th with Lucinda Brand that had a very big frustration at the end of yesterday at 7th. And it's Elisa Longo-Borghini of Trek Segafredo that is in 8th. Soraya Paladin, as we mentioned, is in 9th. And Erica Magnaldi, 10th in that GC. Another very impressive 10 days for that rider as well. But let's have a look at this. 24 seconds now, 16.3 kilometres to go. Romy Kasper, Ali Cipollini and Anna Plichter, Trek Segafredo still out front at the head of this race with Park Hotel Valkenburg now on the front of this peloton.
Yeah, and that's another team that have had an incredible season as well so far. You know, victories in lots of races, both kind of just, you know, the 1.1s and also right up to the World Tour stage races as well. They had, you know, victory in Chongming Island, and they've been racing really aggressively this season and having a really, really good year so far.
And as we just got a little bit of a different camera angle there, you can see that peloton have these 2 breakaway riders in their sights now. And we're seeing a rider who has just formed a gap on the peloton. Just trying to have a little look here. And it looks like the rider from Movistar that leads this up as these 2 who've had an impressive breakaway lead. It is all coming back together.
Yeah, it's always a good opportunity as well to kind of maybe attack yourself as the peloton catches the break. It's a good opportunity for a rider who perhaps is now feeling quite strong and wants to take the opportunity as the bunch, you know, get to the back of these 2 riders. Then we might see somebody jump out of the bunch potentially if there's somebody feeling good who wants to grab the chance.
And we've seen a lot of that, haven't we, this year in this edition of the race, of people just really working that counter-attack. And it was interesting the other day to hear Lizzie Banks saying that actually the point she went, she was suffering to the absolute maximum, but that was the time to go and then go again. And it was the second time that she really jumped that it paid off.
Yeah, because she first attacked at around 15k to go, and then that came back, and then there was another attack that was brought back, and what we saw is at the point that attack was brought back with just over 11k to go, Liz was actually sat, you know, nearer the back of that group of 10, and the riders who were at the front just kind of were glancing at each other after that attack came back. I think it was Jasinska actually that had been caught, and Leia caught her, and they kind of were looking at each other thinking, okay, well, what's going to happen now? And Liz just took the opportunity, jumped from, you know, nearer the back of that group of 10 straight to the opposite side of the road. And because there'd been so many attacks happening before, people looked at each other, just said to each other, well, I've just chased the last one down, who's going to take responsibility for this one? And you know, Liz committed, she went full gas, but they let her get that gap, and once she'd gone, that was it. And she had Leia there to protect her and make sure that, you know, nobody jumped across to her.
Yeah, for anyone that missed that rider, Leah Thomas, her teammate, was just absolutely on fire that day. You know, didn't miss a single move, jumped on absolutely everything, and just those repeat accelerations after accelerations. You know, that was very stunning to watch. But I think it's something we say a lot in cycling in terms of the fact that when you're hurting as a rider, you've got to know how much everybody else is hurting and actually just use that opportunity to really go when no one really wants to respond, as you say.
Yeah, I think you have to maybe sometimes take comfort in the fact that if you're hurting, hopefully most of the other girls are as well. But yeah, obviously Leah was super strong chasing down all those attacks, but then finished second as well on the stage. You know, she won the sprint from the 9 girls who were left in that breakaway. Movistar looked to be really active today as well. You know, they're really pushing the pace on this uphill, and I think they probably want to get something out of this race. Jasinska's been in breaks a couple of days. She was in that break with Liz Banks, and then she was in a break yesterday as well, I think. But you know, obviously they haven't been able to stand on the podium so far, so they'll probably want to get something out of today if they can.
So Elisa Longo Borghini, a Trek Segafredo here, best Italian in the race. You see Ashley Monpassio next to her, Mariana Vos following behind as they come up to this intermediate point.
Yeah, and you can see how tired some of the legs are by this point in the race. You know, people really struggling just at the back, and the gaps are growing.
So this is the GPM point that you mentioned earlier, Hayley, and that is why we're seeing so much action happening in the bunch for this intermediate point. And now chase towards that line. It looked like Longo Borghini moved herself to the front there. Ashley Monpassio here, followed by Mariana Vos. 13.9 kilometres to go at this point in the closing stage of this year's Giro, Rosa.
Yeah, it's strung out, but obviously it's a shorter climb than we've maybe seen in the past few days. So, you know, I don't think we're going to get any kind of massive splits or you know, groups forming just because as you can see, we're already on the descent of this climb. It wasn't long enough to properly split it, but some of the girls who got a little bit gapped coming up to that GPM point are going to have to fight a little bit just to get back in contact here.
Yeah, and something that we've talked about a few times earlier in this stage race is just how difficult it is when you are towards the back of that pack. It's of course the reason we've said we see those classification leaders, those big contenders, always moving themselves back up, using the team support around them. But you can just see how that strings out when you've had a climb up like that, and the people at the back just having to accelerate so much more because it's amplified wheel on wheel on wheel.
Yeah, and there are so many features that cause that kind of effect as well. Obviously, you've got the climbs like we just saw with the GPM, but it can be anything like a road narrowing or, you know, a sudden corner, a 90-degree bend. And if you're near the back and you're just continually having to fight to get back in contact, it just saps the energy. And there are only so many times you can do that each day before, you know, the elastic breaks, and that's kind of your day over. You're gapped and you're not getting back. And actually, you know, if you're doing it day after day after day after day in a 10-day race like this, you know, by this stage in the race, you're going to be struggling a little bit.
And once again, CCC Liv at the head of that peloton with a lot of gaps forming behind, but in this group at the head is our race leader, Annemiek van Vleuten.
And there we go. I said that Movistar might be looking to get something out of this race, and we've had another attack from them.
Hold up, Bionic of Team Movistar. We saw the group all come back together after our earlier breakaway duo went up the road. They came back, and now it is Bionic that attacks. And you can just see the group behind. That gap is forming nicely for the Movistar rider.
Yeah, she took a good opportunity there because obviously they've just come over the GPM. You know, it went quite hard up the GPM from the looks of it. It was really strung out, and maybe it was easing a little bit just coming down the other side. The group was starting to reform a bit, and she took the opportunity at that point to jump out and take a chance, and let's see how far she can go.
Nothing to lose today. The final stage, she's already got 12 seconds on that peloton behind, and we knew we'd see some big moves today because this is the last day. It is the time for the teams that haven't perhaps got what they want from the race to show what they can do today. And yeah, that gap at 12 seconds now, 11.6 kilometres to go on the 120 kilometre stage, 10 from San Vito Tagliamento to Udine. A little bit of a drag up to the finish line, but one that there is a big interest from CCC Liv in making sure comes to a bunch sprint. They'd like to set their teammate Marianne Vos up again, who has just been very, very dominant when it's come down to a sprint this week, and of course winning in different scenarios as well, and unexpected finishes for her, which has been just brilliant to see. But it is the Movistar rider Order Bionic that has put in a big attack and extends her lead on that peloton now to 10 seconds.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens in the peloton now, because obviously we saw when the break of Romy Kasper and Anna Plichter were away, CCC were right on the front and controlling it, but you know, I'm not sure exactly how much effort they had to put in to hold that break, you know, how long they'd been on the front exactly to make sure that that break did not get too much time. So, you know, I'm sure they'll make sure that this doesn't get too much time, but maybe a couple of their riders have, you know, almost burnt some of their matches trying to control that last break, so they might not have, you know, the entire team now to keep this in check.
And when we saw the likes of Annemiek van Vleuten pick her time to go and make her big attacks earlier in the week, which proved to be very instrumental, of course, in that GC, it looked very much like she had planned throughout her recce's, right, this is the point that I'm going to respond, this is the point I'm going to really make a move in the race. How much can you plan these things, and how much is it a case of having to respond to what some of your key rivals are doing?
Yeah, it's a mix. I mean, obviously, yeah, you can look at the roads, look at the route book, and think, okay, this should be a really good place to attack. But something might have already happened in that stage. There might already be a breakaway. You know, you might have had a mechanical before that point and be chasing back on. And when you get to that point where you had planned to attack, you might, you know, be more on the limit because you've had to expend a lot of energy already. But you know, riders, especially like Bianic, she's really experienced. She'll just sense maybe when the bunch might give her the opportunity to go, when there's a bit of a slowing down, when people are looking at each other a little bit, and then she'll think, yeah, there's an opportunity here, I'm just going to take it. So as much as it's really great to be able to plan these things, you also just need that sense of when is a good time, and you know, maybe a good kind of bit of the parkour in terms of either the profile or a corner. Maybe you just take a corner from the front and unexpectedly you get a bit of a gap out the corner because you've managed to take it faster than the rest of the group you're with, and that can be a really, really good opportunity just to put in a bit of a dig and see if you can get a gap.
And our lone leader, Order Bionic of Movistar, has 12 seconds with 8.5 kilometres to go. She's in a great position at this point in the race, the final stage, of course, here at the Giro Rosa 2019, and she is absolutely motoring along with that gap now hovering around 10 seconds.
Yeah, and she'll just give it everything now. That'll be it. She's fully committed to this. She just needs to not look behind her, just put her head down and just try and build that gap as much as she can.
And we can see that gap that you mentioned that has formed behind. I
was going to say, it does look like it's going out.
Yeah, it looks like, well, 14 seconds now. Looks to be extending to Order Bionic of Movistar. Head down, very smooth style, no looking back, and absolutely all in to go for this stage victory here on the final stage of this year's Giro. And when you're looking at the position that Annemiek van Vleuten's in the pink jersey, has worn it for several days now, has, you know, cemented that gap. How would she be feeling coming into today's stage? Is there a little bit of sort of nervous energy thinking, right, just got to get to that line now?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's always a little bit of nerves, isn't there? She'll be confident in her own form. You know, she knows how well she's racing. She knows that she's been the strongest in this race so far, so she won't be worried from that perspective. But it's bike racing, anything can happen. Her team will be keeping her safe, keeping an eye on her, staying around her, just in case she did have a mechanical, a puncture, something like that. Then, you know, her teammates will be looking after her. But You know, like we've seen in races before, riders can be up the road looking like they're going to win, and then, you know, they can have a crash, which is horrendous to see, but it happens. So there's always a little bit of nerves. Just she'll want to stay safe, stay out of trouble. And, you know, with 7K to go, she should be relatively confident.
Yeah, almost there, almost at that finish line, and she will, when she gets there, take the Malia Rosa all the way to that victory podium. Of course, she took the general classification last year, very much prepared to perfection, I think it's fair to say, to come in. But it is the Movistar rider, Order Bionic, that has 17 seconds on that peloton now, as we just tick over into 6.6 kilometres to go. This is an impressive ride.
Yeah, the bunch doesn't look too concerned behind her at the moment. It's not fully strung out, as you can see now at the back. You know, it's actually quite compact. Some of those riders who are gapped a little bit on that GPM are making their way back to the back of the bunch. So at the moment, the bunch isn't too concerned. You know, it is one rider up the road, not a break of several riders working together. So the teams probably know that if they all work together and, you know, put their entire team on the front, then they should be able to close this gap down quite quickly. But yeah, it's still a really, really strong ride from Bionic.
Yep, and you can see, can't you, by the dynamic in that peloton, whether that chase is really, really on or whether it's lulled in pace a little bit. But sometimes we do also see that element of some of the teams wanting that lone rider or indeed a small breakaway to stay there until quite late in the stage.
Yeah, sometimes it's actually beneficial to leave a rider almost, it's a bit cruel to phrase it like this, but like dangling just ahead, because as I said before, you know, there's always the opportunity for riders when a break or a lone rider is caught that other attacks are going to start going. So sometimes it's almost advantageous for the teams that want a sprint finish to kind of leave a rider dangling just out front as long as possible, because then it's less likely that there are going to be counter-attacks coming into the finish, and it makes it a little bit more straightforward, puts them a bit more in control of exactly how the run into the finish happens.
Yeah, we've talked about the huge interest for the CCC Live team, the riders in the orange to the right-hand side of the screen. They would love to set Marianne Vos up for yet another stage victory. But of course, there's other interest, very big interest in here in terms of bringing it back when we come into that run into Udine. Also, Lucinda Brand of Sunweb. We mentioned, for anyone that missed our chat earlier, that she had a mechanical, some difficulty potentially up the final climb, and we saw her actually off the bike on foot. So, you know, riders like her, they'll want a shot at the finale today as well.
Yeah, we don't know exactly what happened. We just saw the images of her walking up the final climb. So the assumption is that she suffered some form of mechanical problem, because, yeah, with that final climb being quite narrow, there were no team cars. So you had support bikes with spare wheels, but if it was some other form of mechanical issue, she wouldn't have been able to get assistance. And obviously that, you know, led to her dropping off the GC podium. With Lucinda, though, she's so determined and just so like mentally strong that, if anything, she'll really want to get something out of today as a result, because she'll be so disappointed with what happened yesterday. That I would imagine she'll really want a good result today.
21 seconds is that gap to our lone leader, Order Bionic of Team Movistar, and we have 3.9 kilometres to go. It's Lotte Soudal on the front. You can see the Canyon SRAM colours to the left in formation. To the right of her, it's Bigla, Ala Cipollini to the left, FDJ Nouvelle Aquitaine, Futurescope lining up behind there. See the face of Hannah Barnes in there from Great Britain. On the right-hand side of the screen, it is once again CCC Live, and you can spot Marianne Vos, the absolute force to be reckoned with in a bunch sprint, because she is wearing that point classification jersey.
Yeah, you can see all the CCC Live riders together. You know, they know what they need to do to kind of position Marianne into that finish. So it's really great when you can see all of the riders from the same team coming together, getting ready for that finish. And yeah, the gap is coming down now. It's only 17 seconds and with 3.3k to go, and the teams are already grouping, ready to set up whoever their kind of designated sprinter is for the day, set them up into the finish.
Kasia Niewiadoma moving up there. We talked about those team formations, a very neat formation always from Canyon Tram, as we saw on the opening day, Team Time Trial, a brilliant ride from them. See Leah Thomas there for Bigler. Talked about how impressive she was earlier this week, not only getting on the podium on the stage, but setting the win up for Lizzie Banks. A little bit of road furniture there, but the bike skills are, as always, so impressive with a little hop there.
Yeah, from my teammate, actually, Eugenia Bujak. That was, a good bit of jumping over that central island.
Yeah, no
She's
problem.
just being taken to the front by Micah.
Yeah, Micah Bugard had a good day out there yesterday.
Yeah, Micah's had a really strong season. She had a bit of a tough winter. She had an injury over the winter, which kind of gave her a slightly slower start to the classics. But she's gone from strength to strength, and she's had a really good run since May. So yeah, she was really strong in the break, and she'll be helping Eugenia position ready for the finish today.
And you can really see the change in pace now in this peloton behind. That gap is coming down. It's at 12 seconds to Order Bionic of Team Movistar. 2.5 kilometres to go. Looks like the sight of Kasia Niewiadoma there. And we saw Trek Segafredo just getting into formation. They've got Elisa Longo-Borghini tucked in there. And that gap is 10 seconds, 2.4 kilometres to go. We are, of course, in the final stage now. Stage 10 of this year's Giro Rosa at Crea. It's the 30th edition of the race. And what a tough edition it has been. Today saw 120 kilometres ahead of the riders from San Vito Tagliamento to Udine. And it is Order Bionic now that looks over her shoulder, and she can see that peloton now in her sight as they close down with 2 kilometres to go.
Yeah, she knows they're coming, but she can't do anything else but, keep pushing. I think she knows that she's going to be caught in the closing stages, but yeah, she's just putting her head down and staying out there as long as possible. And actually, it looks like it's quite technical in these closing stages, so staying out there, it keeps her safe as well. Yeah, it's really stringing out behind as they kind of chase her down.
All the teams, all the big players have come now to the front. The teams are getting organised as they chase down Order Bionic of Team Movistar, as they know this final K run into the line on stage 10 is fast approaching. It looks like Trek Segafredo leading that chase. Canyon Tram up there as well, FTJ. 1.4K to go now. And as they make this turn, Order Bionic looks over her shoulder. She can now see that they are bearing down, and it's all going to come back together for a big sprint into this finale.
Yeah, it looked like Trek Segafredo on the front there. Just coming around that last corner.
And this is it. That familiar banner. The ultimate kilometre. We come in now to the stage finale with that peloton bearing down on Order Bionic of Team Movistar. A brilliant move for that rider out front for quite a few kilometres now, seeing that go up, but it's now come down as this bunch has a huge interest in this coming down to a bunch sprint into Udine on stage 10, the final stage at this year's Giro Rosa at Crea. And they are chasing now the teams, all coming to the fore that we expect as they make this turn into the cobbles, and a really good save there. Looked like Niewiadoma saved that turn on the cobbles, and we've seen a lot of this in these run-ins to the finish. WNT Rota Kirsten Wild just following her there, and the right-hand side of the screen is Marianne Vos for CCC Live in that points classification jersey. Behind her, we've got the rider from Bols Dolmans, Elisa Longo-Borghini, tucked in there in the blue jersey of the Italian lead of this race, as this is it. They make the turn now. They're in this closing K. Bill goes towards the barrier there, but it's Vos that looks over her shoulder, takes it on from the front, and it's Marianne Vos of CCC Live. She is taking it on yet again from the front. The final stage here at the Giro Rosa at Crea 2019. You can see the pain on her face, but that gap is opening behind. It's Marianne Vos all the way up this final climb into the finish finish a flat day, but a drag up now with 50 metres to go. It is Sunweb that follows behind, and they are chasing everything they've got to the line, but she knows she's got it. Marianne Vos takes her 4th stage victory of this year's Giro Rosa. What conviction, what absolute power. Marianne Vos takes the final stage, and in second it was Lucinda Brand of Sunweb, followed by Lotte Kopecky.
Yeah, that was a really technical run in, and you can see Annemiek just celebrating as she goes over the line. She knows that she's finished safely and secured the Maglia Rosa, but brilliant finish from Vos yet again.
Oh, Marianne Vos, what style and what strength she's come into this race with. She crashed out of the last Women's World Tour race, the Over Energy Women's Tour, when she was indeed leading. Very big disappointment then, but straight back up, back into the race season and coming in such fine form to take her fourth stage victory. Of course, Annemiek van Vleuten now knows she will stand on the top step of that general classification podium. She took the Maglia Rosa, but we are just getting the sight now of Marianne Vos just with that final kind of run into the line, looking over her shoulder just to check she'd got it. We've seen a couple of these very close calls earlier this week. And behind her, you could see Lucinda Brand giving it everything to the line to take second. It will be a great podium moment for her today after disappointment yesterday. And in third, that was Lotte Kopecky of Lotto Soudal.
Yeah, I'm really happy for Lucinda managing to get onto the podium today after yesterday. You know, it's not going to completely make up for it, but it's something for her to take from this race.
Confirmation of that stage result. Marianne Vos takes it from Lucinda Brand, and in third it was Lotte Kopecky, and Soraya Paladin in fourth. Another brilliant day for her. Kasia Nivedoma in fifth, Momen Passio in sixth, followed by Elisa Longo-Borghini, Demi Vollering behind her in eighth. And it looked like Wild had a little bit of a problem there when we saw that turn into the barrier. But here it is, confirmation of the general classification. Annemiek van Vleuten, Anna van der Breggen and Amanda Spratt will take to that podium.
Well, yeah, the speaker this morning made a mistake and he said 25 already, so I had to make it right somehow. But yeah, when we looked at the schedule up front, this stage seemed to suit me the best. And then winning already earlier this week was already made me confident, and the team also really believing in it. So we did all we could today. And yeah, I think I have to thank my teammates for this one. I only had to do the final sprint.
Yeah, dream come true again. Like last year was the first time, and to do it again and prepare like 100%. I worked so hard for this. And then it's so nice, and then it pays off with a win. Also for my team that worked also really hard for it. Like we were all prepared, we week on stages, the whole team was all in. So then you feel some pressure, and then it makes it even more special to finish it off.
Marianne Vos, CCC Live, takes to the podium as she wins the final stage. Indeed, her fourth stage win of the Giro Rosa, and that, I think, tallies her to 25, as she said in her interview there. Brilliant performance from the CCC Live rider. Just hear the cheers, big celebrations here in Italy on this final stage of this Women's Grand Tour. And Annemiek van Vleuten takes the Maglia Rosa, the pink jersey, and she takes the overall win. It's all confirmed. She got safely to the line, and she now gets to spray that champagne. Big smiles, huge celebrations with the team, and a brilliant team effort throughout the whole 10 days as well. They'll be enjoying sharing that together. And here it is, our overall podium of this year's Giro Rosa. Anna van der Breggen there in the championship bands takes second, and Amanda Spratt in third yet again. A 1 and 3 for Mitchelton Scott. This is the sight now of the overall winner, Annemiek van Vleuten, taking the points classification as well. And it is Juliette Labou of Team Sunweb that secures the white young rider classification, and she will take this jersey now in the race overall. And our overall winner, Annemiek van Vleuten, takes the green jersey, that queen of the mountain classification. Bit of a dance on the podium, brilliant to see. And Elisa Longo-Borghini, she has worn this blue jersey throughout the entirety of the race, and she takes it now. It is the best Italian going to Elisa Longo-Borghini of Trek Segafredo. But here is the moment. Annemiek van Vleuten takes the overall. You see her teammates behind there. Bit of a height difference between Sarah Roy there and Amanda Spratt.
You can't actually see Amanda behind there.
Here she comes. And let's take a look back once again for the final time throughout this year's edition of the race. Highlights of the moment that flag dropped for the final stage, and it was Romy Kasper and Anna Plichter of Ali Cipollini and Trek Segafredo that were in one of the really big moves of the day to ride a breakaway that got a significant gap. But as we see a glimpse of CCC Liv on the front of this peloton, we knew they wanted it to come back to a Wonder Sprint for Marianne Vos, who of course finished that off. And a sight here of the overall race winner, Annemiek van Vleuten in pink. And this is the moment that we saw the peloton come into sight, and these two riders knew that this attack was going to come back. It was all set to come back together. And we saw a big move from Order Bionic of Team Movistar. We knew they wanted to put on a big display today, and they certainly did that. And she went up the road on a solo attack, which proved to get quite a significant gap. But once again, that chase was very much on. Trek Segafredo here, doing a lot of work on the front. Today's stage was 120k, but with 1 kilometre to go, it was Order Bionic that came back to the group, and it all came down to a bunch sprint. It'll be interesting to see what happened here as we saw the final turn.
I think Wild just misjudged that last corner a little bit and just nearly ran into the barrier, and Vos just took her opportunity, as Vos will do.
Yeah, so Wild lose a lot of pace there coming towards that barrier, but it was Marianne Vos that took it on from the front, absolutely went. And you can just see the sheer power, the sheer conviction that she knows what she can do. She's already done it several times this week, finished it off to perfection. And this was the moment we saw her cross that 50 metres to go point and gave it absolutely everything to take the final stage victory. This would have been yet another special one for her, just upping that tally more and more and more. And we saw Lucinda Brand of Sunweb take a brilliant second behind her, and Lottie Kopecky of Lotto Soudal rounded off that podium and the top 3 on our final stage 10. So here it is, the final general classification, and it was 3 minutes 45 that Anna van der Breggen finished in, and Amanda Spratt was there in third, 1 and 3 for Mitchelton Scott. And Marianne Vos takes her 4th stage victory in a very familiar style with a huge gap behind. She's had a phenomenal Giro this year.
Yeah, it's been incredible. I think looking at the stage, it did look like it had Vos's name written all over it, to be honest. But as we said, it was the final stage, so anything could have happened. But no, it was an incredible win.
And we should take a moment to say that we called it right today.
We did. Good prediction. Got to get one, haven't you?
Just had to get that in there, Haley. And let's look at that overall. Annemiek van Vleuten in first. Her teammate Amanda Spratt in third. The same for them, 1 and 3 from last year.
Yeah, and as we were saying earlier, obviously it was really nice for Annemiek van Vleuten yesterday to kind of do that work for her teammate to get her onto the podium. Anna van der Breggen obviously in second. She missed the race last year, but it was really great to see that battle between her and Annemiek yesterday, and for her to get the stage win and be second on GC as well. So yeah, it's a really top quality podium, isn't it?
Yeah, an absolutely brilliant podium and a great Giro for WNT Rosa, who took that team classification. We caught up with their rider, Laura Viacelli.
I'm super happy. I was really almost crying because it was one of the best moments of my career to go on the podium with Giro Rosa.
And nice little birthday present for you on Tuesday.
Yeah, it's really good present. This morning I say to two old girls, please give me this present. And they say Kirsten said me, be focused on the race, don't think about the finish. And then when it will finish, we will see. And I was focused with all the girls and for this result.
I'm happy because I came here and eventually I was about not to come here. It's been a very bad moment for me before the Giro, and I'm very proud to have been here and to have been fighting for the GC. I had the best teammates around me and a very good and prepared staff. So thank you very much to everybody for what you have done for me.
Well, it's been a fantastic 10 days with this year's edition of the race, and perhaps not too many surprises at the top of the general classification with the form we knew those riders had come in with, and that game plan in fact as well. But Hayley, for you, has there been anyone that's really stood out or any surprises in there across the 10 days?
There have been a couple of really strong rides actually. Soraya Paladin has had an incredible Giro. She's been top 10 on so many stages, and then, you know, obviously a really good result for her again in today's stage. Also Erica Magnaldi, you know, she's been in the top 10 several days as well. So they've both had really strong rides. Obviously it was great to see Liz Banks's victory the other day. That's obviously going to be a special one to kind of her friends and the British riders who know her well. So yeah, that's a great result from her. But no, it's been really nice to see some younger, maybe lesser known names having some great rides this week, and it just bodes really well for the future of the sport really, and for women's cycling.
And Kasia Niewiadoma of Canyon SRAM, it was brilliant to see her in pink at the start of the race and indeed for quite a few days after that.
Yeah, I mean, we know that she's a great GC rider. Obviously, Canyon are such a strong team when it comes to the team time trial, so she got to wear the Maglia Rosa first, and then she held on to it for several days, and you know, she's still finished really well in the GC even after, you know, some really tough stages, and yeah, it's a great ride from her.
And I've personally enjoyed watching Ashley Momopassio as well, who always animates the race and didn't have the ideal time sort of midway through the race. Wasn't feeling her best, but fought so hard yesterday.
Oh, she's a fighter. You know, that's one thing you can always say about Ashley. She doesn't give up. You know, she always wants to animate the race. She doesn't want things to be boring. She wants to show how exciting women's cycling is, and she does that. And for her to come from a few days of not feeling so well and having a great result yesterday, stepping onto that stage podium and then finishing fourth on GC, I'm really happy that she had a strong finish to the week.
And so many more brilliant performances that we've seen over the last 10 stages. But Hayley, thank you so much for being alongside me in the studio. It's been brilliant to have all your race insight. Thank you for watching at home. Thanks once again to our fantastic partner Trek. And that's all from us at this year's Giro Rosa Rosa. See you next year.